Tax time doesn't have to be stressful. You want to know what it feels like to be stress free? Call the professionals at SJC Financial Solutions. We can provide you with professional and experienced staff, electronic filing, individual and business tax returns. We provide bookkeeping, payroll, IRS collection representation. You can reach us at 800-542-1393, or you can log on to www.yourtaxremedy.com. That is yourtaxremedy.com. We are an authorized e-file provider, and we are IRS enrolled agents. Again, tax time doesn't have to be stressful. Know what it's like to be stress-free. Call SJC Financial Solutions. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount.
Hey folks, I know you guys are enjoying this calm voice of the Ruthless Wonder here on the Quiet Storm. I'm just kidding. It is the Wrath of Ruthless. I am the Ruthless Wonder, not a Ruthless Wonder. And we are continuing our Words Don't Do It Justice anniversary celebration. Uh, so, I've thought it uh, the best idea to make sure I bring in uh, my partner in crime these days. You can, of course, he's going to tell you all about his various projects he's got going on, but he, of course, helps us out here at 314 and is involved in some interesting things we've got coming up here in the not too distant future. But yeah, we had to get him on because how do you talk about everything going on without having the Revanchist himself? Chris Hines, how you doing, man?
I'm all right.
Good, man. So, of course, we got him here with us today. Just like the previous sessions have gone, nice casual conversation. We're gonna get an update on what he's up to, talk about some things from the past, of course, in the quote old days of Words Don't Do It Justice, and go on from there. So, first up, man, how are you doing? What are you up to? What's the big thing going on right now for you?
Well, right now I'm in my final senior semester of undergraduate school, so I'll be getting my degree soon. And other than that, I've just been working on books.
Now, of course, you've already had one out. You want to tell folks a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I've already released one novella. It's called The Eventide Child. You can find it on Amazon for 99 cents. It's basically just an alternate history fantasy story about a girl who has magic powers, pretty much. Who finds out she has some interesting lineage and goes on quite the adventure.
Nice. Now, uh, this entire uh, novella and the quote rest of the project, is it too early to tell folks about that, or we gotta keep that under wraps a little longer?
No, we can talk about it.
So tell folks a little bit about it, because I put it this way, folks. I thought this was so interesting that I like literally begged him to be able to write something for it. Like that's how awesome this is.
Well, the idea is the premise behind it is I've created a world. I went back in time in history and chose one event to change, and I found that once I changed that event, I had to come up with explanations for everything else that changed. But ultimately, there's two big important changes in this world. It takes place on Earth as we know it, pretty much, except different. In this world, for this project, myth, magic, and all that fantastical stuff that the classical writers were writing about, it's all true. The gods are real. They did have divine abilities, and there is magic, and you can do all this stuff. But the big divergence in history is Carthage actually wins the Second Punic War against Rome, and it just that one series of event basically has completely altered the way the world evolved, because it was Rome winning the Second Punic War that really established it as the preeminent power in the Mediterranean. Well, if Carthage wins that war, it just completely changes the dynamic of the world.
Exactly. And so obviously you guys can know based on my love of Hannibal and my also love of Septimus uh Severus and the Severan dynasty that initially was just like, "Oh wow, wait. What? This happened? Okay, I'm totally in." Then he told me about the magic. It was like, "So you're going to find this interesting." Like also magic, just magic everywhere, magic everything. I was sold immediately. I'm like totally in. So is there of the stuff you can't talk about because I know folks go buy the stuff. Like let's get that out of the way. Go buy the stuff. Other stuff that you want to talk about, the stuff you want to let out. What's the plan overall right now?
Right now, I am currently working on a full-length novel that is going to be released by the end of 2017, if everything goes right. I had some setbacks on the production of said novel, so I'm not entirely certain if I can meet the end of 2017 date that I had promised at the end of the novella, but I am definitely trying.
There we go. So uh, let's of course I love stuff like this. Like I like fantasy. I like aping fantasy a lot more than I do like doing it traditionally. So I love the historical context of things. Um, I do want to kind of get your opinion since there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Obviously, it's International Women's Day because we're filming this on Wednesday. But recording this on Wednesday. But I also wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the fantasy that we have out right now because there's a fairly decent amount of fantasy books out there, and a lot of fantasy movies being produced. I know we've heard, Avatar is coming back with sequels. They're doing the kind of Harry Potter Silmarillion, if you will, with the Fantastic Beasts series. Like from the fantasy that you see, not just in publication, but also in film and TV right now. Like what's your overall opinion on that stuff, man?
There's a lot of good stuff that's been coming out lately. I've always been a fan of J.K. Rowling, even if, I'm horribly aware now as an adult the horrendous and numerous plot holes in the Harry Potter series. I still love it overall, though, because they were really the first large books that I had gotten when I was a kid, outside of the Lord of the Rings, that I sat down and read. And just for the longest time, that was the big thing for me. Is when the new book came out, my parents would get me the book, my mom in particular, and I would basically lock myself in my room and read it nonstop until I was done.
Nice.
I don't actually know a lot about in terms of television shows outside of a Game of Thrones. I am interested in, oh God, what is that movie called coming out? It's not really fantasy, it's science fiction. It's Valeria and the
Oh,
Thousand Worlds or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Valerian in the Thousand Cities, Thousand Worlds, something like that. Yeah.
Ah, The City of a Thousand Planets, that's what
There
it
we go.
is. Yeah, that looks really interesting.
But I think
I also
it's
saw
sci-fi
a,
only because
yeah,
it's future tech. Like that
yeah.
looks very high fantasy looking. You
Another
know.
interesting trailer I saw the other day
Hmm.
was for a movie called American Fable that's coming out. It's kind of like a thriller, horror, fantasy mixture. And there's also a really indie project that was inspired by The Hobbit that's coming out called The Dwarves of Dimler, I think it is.
Interesting. Do you know anything more about it? Like, what's it like other than just
The
it being?
Dwarves of Dimrell. Basically, the premise of the movie, it's filmed in an actual abandoned copper mine. And the premise of the movie is that there was an explosion that has trapped these three dwarves and a human woman in the mine, and they're trying to get their way out. And the tagline is, "This is no mine, it's a tomb."
Hmm. That actually sounds pretty interesting.
But I mean, again, it's a very indie project. It's something that got funding through Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah. But in terms of mainstream, I don't really think there's that much in terms of like fantasy coming out, really.
Well,
But again, I don't honestly follow cinema that much.
fair, totally fair. I know, a lot of folks kind of limit their fantasy exposure to Game of Thrones, the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit stuff, and then, um, oh, what are they? What's the TV show where it has all the Disney stuff? Well,
Oh, Once Upon a Time.
there we go. Like they kind of limited to that. That's why I was bringing it up. It's like, what do people really think about this? Like, same with Sleepy Hollow. It's like, what do you guys actually think of this stuff?
I
I
have
don't watch it. My
never,
mom is a big fan. I'm not a fan.
I have never actually watched Once Upon a Time, but my mom was big into Sleepy Hollow, and I just remember, in particular, when I would catch her in the middle of an episode and watch some of it, it was like it annoyed me because of how very weird and divergent from the story of Sleepy Hollow it was, and they were dragging it out into this whole big story about how the headless horseman was one of the horsemen of the apocalypse or something like that. I was like,
That's
this is
crazy.
bizarre. I'm just gonna leave now. Bye, mom.
That's one of those things. Like my mom's thing with Scandal. Like she does not let Scandal go. Uh, it's like I look at him like I can't. I write better stuff than this. Like,
The last the last really fantasy thing that I watched outside of Game of Thrones and the usual typical stuff was
mhm.
actually oh Camelot, the TV series.
Okay, okay, yeah.
I think it was called Camelot. But it was basically it was inspired by what was the name of that show where it was Superman as a teenager?
Smallville.
Yes, it was inspired by Smallville. So it was about Merlin and his teenage years growing up with young Prince Arthur and stuff in Camelot and the adventures they went on before Arthur was king and Uhtred was still king of Camelot and Merlin was kind of having to hide out and pretend he didn't have magic because Uther hated magic.
Hmm. I always liked. I won't say liked. Actually, I will say liked. I liked the films for the TV films because they were all on TV. For the Librarian, uh,
Yes, I
they used to always be
actually
on TNT. I
did.
liked all of those. I didn't so much like the TV show. It kind of
I
got away from itself.
I didn't see the movies, but I saw the first episode of the TV show, and I remember thinking that it looked interesting. Like the entire concept of it sounded interesting, but I
Yeah,
never, unfortunately, got to see it.
I don't know where you can find the TV movies because I know TNT is kind of weird about on-demand stuff. But they're like, honestly, if they weren't TV movies, if they were in theaters and they had just that little bit of extra budget to be theatrical releases, I think they probably would have done really well. And I think it's just the fact that it's on TNT and can't really go anywhere else is what keeps people from checking them out. They're pretty good.
And
I like them.
on the subject of Arthurian mythology,
Hmm.
there is actually a new King Arthur movie coming out in May of 2017.
Oh my God! Did you see the trailer for this thing?
I have not actually seen the trailer yet. No.
Okay, we are going to, folks, we are what we're going to do here is we are going to give him a chance to see this trailer and react live to this trailer and then come back in because it's crazy. So what we're going to do is you're not going to notice the pause. We're just going to be like, and then we'll be back. But we'll be back in just a second. This is a break. You're listening to The Wrath of Ruthless. I am the Ruthless Wonder, and I'm here with Revanchist Chris Hines. See you in just a second. Welcome back to The Wrath of Ruthless, folks. I am still here. We are still talking, but now we've given we've given the Revanchists a chance to watch the trailers for King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. Uh, so how do you feel? Did you feel like you
Man,
had an acid trip?
that was like getting hyped and then just coming down really fast.
All right, so you're probably wondering why he said that. So the first trailer that I showed him was the Comic Con trailer, which is a really confident, get you ready for the movie kind of trailer, because it's for Comic Con. They better do that. The second trailer I showed him was the official trailer that everyone got to see a couple weeks ago. That is like so Guy Ritchie, it hurts.
Yeah,
Oh man. Never mind the fact that like Charlie Hunnam looks like he's been dressed by last season's Gap commercial. Like, I swear this might be an Abercrombie and Fitch model, winter catalog. But forgetting all the overly modern looking stuff, once you see the second trailer, and folks, go ahead and have a look whenever you feel like it, you can kind of see the difference between what what we thought we were seeing and what we saw. Uh, but yeah, so that's coming out. But there's a few movies that are coming out that are pretty interesting. You actually mentioned two of them that I'm really hyped for: Dunkirk from Chris Nolan, and the Blade Runner 2049, which is probably that's probably going to be my like most hyped for 2017 flick right now, for me at least.
Yes. Oh, I also just want to say I realized I misspoke earlier. The show I was talking about was Merlin. There's also another TV show that I watched in 2011 called Camelot that is a more dark, gritty Game of Thrones style telling of Arthurian legend.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I also missed the one I was going to say. The Magicians is actually really good. Which sadly I think they're coming to
Oh,
an
the
end.
TV show. Yes, I
Yeah.
actually read the books.
Oh, nice. I didn't know there was a
Yes,
book series for it.
have. Yeah, it's based on the book series by Lev Grossman called The Magicians. The book series, honestly, I watched I watched the first season of the TV series. I think the book is a lot better.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I always like stuff being added to my reading list. Um, but yeah, so go ahead and give me your reactions to to what you think now that you've seen the best and worst trailer for that movie.
Oh, it was just like, watching the first trailer was like, oh my god, it's a King Arthur movie. It's the King Arthur movie that's gonna redeem that Russell Crowe movie, and it's the movie you never knew you wanted until you saw the trailer, and then watching the second trailer was like, why? Is this even the same movie?
Well, see, the first trailer was from before Guy Ritchie started editing. The second trailer is from after. No,
Guy no.
the sad thing is, like, I like the cast for this. Like, Charlie Hunnam kind of makes sense in that role, even though from now on, Charlie Hunnam is going to perpetually be known as, you know, the guy who you forget is in the movie. So, somebody asked me a few weeks ago about the first Pacific Rim movie because there's a second one. Because we were talking about that they were announcing that the filming had begun on the sequel, or pre-production began on the sequel, and I couldn't remember who the lead character's name was in Pacific Rim. I also couldn't remember the actor's name.
I just remember Kaiju and Jagger. That's all I remember from Pacific Rim. I don't remember any actors or anything.
Well, I remember Mako just
I
because.
don't even remember that. I can't remember anybody's name from that show. I can't remember the actors that played them. I just remember robots and kaiju.
Well,
For all I know, Optimus Prime was the lead role.
No, only reason I remember Mako is because I really like Ringo Kikuchi.
Oh yeah, she was the Japanese girl. I remember that now.
Yeah, that's really like the number one. I think she's got a very interesting ability to do a lot of her acting, with her face without it being like mugging for the camera. And so I have this thing for really anybody who does acting that can do a lot of those like extremely subtle but easy to pick up facial things, because I think that adds to performances.
Oh shit, that was Charlie Hunnam in that movie.
Yeah, that's Charlie Hunnam. Dude, it took us an hour for me to remember it, like what his character's name was, and then another 20 minutes to remember what his name, like him. I was like, I know he's in the movie. I know they end up on the raft at the end. I don't remember his character name for the life of me. And I didn't cheat. I was trying not to look at Wikipedia.
Oh
I was just
shit,
like,
he was also in Sons of Anarchy.
yeah.
I
What's the
knew
thing?
the name sounded familiar, like giggling in the back of my head.
When it comes to Sons of Anarchy, I immediately remember him. But this, nah, man, not a chance.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot like who this guy was. For a minute there, I was thinking he was like in Magic Mike or something. It's the name sounded familiar and I couldn't place it, and then it's like, oh right, I was watching Sons of Anarchy not that long ago.
Yeah.
I guess it's helpful if I remember these things.
Well, he has the most with
Oh shit, he was in Children of Men as who? I
it's
like that movie, and
nonsense, right? With like nonsense stuff because he's all right. Sons of Anarchy, Children of Men, Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak for some reason. I forgot who he was in that. And then I'm trying to think what else has he been in that's been big. Oh, he was on what's the gay show that was on?
Pure as Folk.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on there.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's one of those things like I don't he was in Cold Mountain? What I don't alright, okay. Okay. But yeah, I couldn't remember his character name. His character name is Raleigh Beckett. And I was talking to somebody who of course doesn't know how to say the name Raleigh. So they were
What they
calling
say,
him
relay.
no, they were
What they,
calling him Rayla. I was like
I was respecting relay.
what? Like no, Raleigh. Raleigh. What's that? It's like yeah, it's the name of a city here in the US. It's like, "Oh, it's a US thing." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a US thing." But apparently he's not in the second movie. He's not in Uprising.
I'm pretty sure he died at the end of the first one.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't die. That's the whole thing.
Are you sure? 'Cause I distinctly remember him
I am
dying.
absolutely certain. I'm also currently
What
looking
movie
at
did I
the
watch?
Wikipedia page for the movie.
Oh, what movie did I watch then?
No, because remember he takes the robot through the gate. Him and Mako take it through the gate, and he sends her like her escape pod out, and then he makes sure that the thing goes off. But then he hops into his escape pod at the last second as the reactor's overloading, and he gets out like just as it gets ready to go off, and he shows up to the surface, and Mako like saves him, and they kind of sit there waiting at the end.
I was pretty certain he died. Oh well.
Nope. Um, Idris Elba's character dies.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot he was in the movie.
He's
I
the only
forgot,
one.
man.
He's the only one besides Mako that I could guarantee you I knew what happened to them in the movie. Like I don't remember what happened to Charlie Day's character, the doctor. I don't remember what happened to Ron Perlman, but I know he's in the movie, like for like comic relief, basically. But can't remember anything else.
I literally forgot every single person that was in that movie. Like I said, all I could remember was robots and kaiju.
Which is what they wanted you to do anyway. So you know.
Like you could have brought me into the sequel, and I would not even known it was not the same guy.
Well,
It's
that's what
like,
I'm
oh
wondering.
well.
Like, who the hell's in this movie if Mako's in the movie, but Raleigh's not in the movie? Anyway, she also did the live action Terraformers movie, which like go watch that. Oh, go watch that. They actually got Terraformers right. Like I was happy with it. So enjoy the hype. Enjoy the hype. But yeah, man, Dunkirk gonna be the. How do you feel
Oh
about
damn!
what you've seen from Dunkirk?
They got the Star Wars guy, John Boyega. He's in
Yeah,
Pacific Rim now.
yeah, he's in the sequel. How do you feel about Dunkirk? Because when I first saw that Nolan was making it, I went to go look up a little bit about what happened, and I'm wondering how they're going to film this based on what we've seen so far in the trailer.
I think it looks like it's gonna be good. Dunkirk's one of those things that I already knew what happened, but for me, the more interesting part of Dunkirk isn't the part that everyone likes to focus on. It's like, oh, it's the miracle at Dunkirk, and all the boats got the British people away. Well, what a lot of people don't talk about is Dunkirk was actually technically a strategic disaster because, yeah, they got the guys off the beach, but up until that point, the German war machine was running low on material resources. Well, when they left out of Dunkirk, they left everything behind, and that was enough for the German army to re-up and rearm for quite some time. Outside of that, the thing that doesn't get talked about is everybody likes to harp on the French and how they surrendered, but one thing they don't talk about is that the French basically fought to a man to delay the German advance into Dunkirk until the last British soldier had gotten off the beach. Um, the commander actually described it as akin to Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at Thermopylae.
Knowing they're gonna die, but fighting the
Yeah.
last man to save those retreating. Yeah.
Now, the trailer to the movie looks like it's going to more focus on the psychological state of the soldiers trapped on the beach of Dunkirk as they're getting harassed from the air and all that stuff, and basically the hopelessness of the entire situation.
Man.
Now, if I was to make a movie, I would focus on the French defenders, because for me, that's a more interesting story.
I don't know. I don't know that I would go all in that direction. I would probably spend a lot of time doing both. And this is Christopher Nolan. Like, I feel like we have to trust him to do like everything. I don't think he's going to gloss over it. And
But I mean, he might very well include the fact of the French defenders. I'm not entirely positive. I just know that usually most people, when they talk about Dunkirk, they absolutely forget about the contribution that the French made, and it's all about, oh, the boats across the channel and the miraculous saving of the peoples.
yeah, with his focus on the psychological sort of terror involved, I have to think that to some degree he's going to uh he's going to have a nice mix of the two. Like I feel like he, if not like a full, 50-50, then definitely, somewhere in the 80-20 to 70-30 range. Just because it seems like he's hitting some stories fairly obviously in the trailer, and it's like I feel like Nolan's deeper than that.
Apparently, from what he's talked about the movie, he decided to make the film focus from three perspectives: the airplanes, the land on the beach, and the sea, the evacuation by the Navy.
Hmm.
And on the main purpose of the film, he said, the empathy for the characters has nothing to do with their story. I did not want to go through the dialogue, tell the story of my characters. The problem is not who they are, who they pretend to be, or where they come from. The only question I was interested in was, will they get out of it? Will they be killed by the next bomb while trying to join the mole? Or will they be crushed by a boat while crossing?
Mm.
So it's starting to sound more like he's going to focus almost exclusively on the British side of things.
That's distressing, but we'll see what we get. Like, I'm still rather happy to be seeing this happening. So
Yeah, I mean, it's still an interesting subject to launch the movie about, but I was just saying from my personal interest in this section, I think the story of the French is a more interesting one.
makes sense.
It's not to say that the story of Dunkirk itself is not interesting, just I think the French aspect of it was more interesting.
Let's see here, and then of course, have you watched the trailer uh, for Blade Runner 2049?
I have not.
Okay, it's really not a trailer yet. It's really just a tease. Um, but of course, they reveal that Harrison Ford is still alive, so he's in the movie. They haven't said how much he's in the movie yet, which is one of the things that I'm really kind of waiting on. But and I always forget how to say his name. Dennis, I want to say Villeneuve. I don't know yet. Uh, everybody says his name differently. But he has this amazing aesthetic for it that really respects the way the original Blade Runner looks and gives it, that modern sort of uptick that you really kind of need. Um, and how to put this? I'm trying to say it without like sounding, in any way bitter or too hyped for it. We know Deckard's there. We don't know Deckard's situation. Like, I don't know how much you know about the original Blade Runner. Have you seen all the different various, theories on whether or not Deckard is actually a replicant in the original Blade Runner movie?
Yes.
Okay, so the
Kind
way
of talked about it in the class.
okay, yeah, so the way he shows up in the teaser doesn't really answer that question
Of course it doesn't, bastards.
because because obviously Harrison Ford is 30 years older, but like he also doesn't necessarily like it doesn't necessarily look like, oh well, he's got to be old now. Like it just they don't address what's going on with him, and the place he is at the time also doesn't address that. So I'm not certain whether or not this is like playing off of that story, that potential theory, or whether this is no, he's just 30 years older and he was never secretly a replicant. So I can't judge that yet, but I think they actually made the right casting with Ryan Gosling, who weirdly looks a little bit like Ryan Reynolds in the teaser. But they've got a really good cast. Um, Before this, Noiv did Our Arrival for this past year, and of course, one of my favorites from earlier in the year, um, uh, Sicario. Like, so it's really good, man.
Oh, I wanted to see that movie so bad and I never got around to
Sicario?
it.
Oh man,
Yes.
you gotta see Sicario. Number
If
one
I
because
remember right, it might be on HBO, so I think I'll be able to watch it.
they've got what's the name coming on? Um, they've got a sequel coming out called Soldado that has Benicio del Toro back in the same role from Sicario, and then like worst to worst, dude, we can always sit down and watch it. I would love to do a review on that one. So we can always do that. Always up to you, man. I'm trying to think what else is going on that I really want to like absolutely get to. There we go. Well, let's.
I just saw on the side of my YouTube a trailer for a movie called The Wall, and I'm like, did somebody really make like? Please tell me someone didn't make a movie about Donald Trump's wall.
Wait, called The Wall?
Yes, it's called The Wall.
Like as in Pink Floyd's The Wall?
No, not as in Pink Floyd's The Wall, as in The Wall, just The Wall, starring John Cena.
Oh no, that is his movie. Basically, he and another guy get pinned down by a sniper. And I want to say it's in Afghanistan or it might be in Iraq. I can't remember, but it's supposed to be a really hard hitting flick based on a true story situation as well.
Okay. I just can never tell anymore because it's like
But
off on the side I just see The Wall.
but
Like,
it is
oh, please,
starring
no.
John Cena. Doo, 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 doo.
Oh, well then, I mean, how could anybody shoot at him? They can't see him.
Oh man, that's crazy these days.
There's
No
a
man,
lot of like Middle Eastern war movies coming out in 2017. It looks like Sandcastle, Mine.
yeah.
Just looking at the sidebar from this, it all looks like there's a bunch of movies set in the Middle East. Oh, and then there's Matt Damon in Ancient China. Matt
Yeah.
Damon.
Matt Matt Damon. Oh, so I wanted to ask you though about something that's come up fairly recently. Fairly recently, since you are you have for us covered the most international stuff. Did you hear about what WikiLeaks is releasing?
Yes, I heard about that today, actually.
Thousands of CIA documents. One,
Yeah,
who is giving them this stuff is what I want to know. Like, I'm
I
not even
have good
mad, but
I have good suspicions at this point as to who they might be getting it from.
at this point, I'm thinking the CIA themselves are handing it over. But
Well, the CIA actually said they were aware of the leak and they believe it came from a contractor, one of the contractors that the CIA employed. Apparently, the 0-day stuff and everything, the malware and all the hacking tools that's circulating has been going around unofficially between U.S. To hackers hired by the U.S. government, and what it's starting to look like to the CIA apparently is somebody who was involved with contracting, somebody who was contracted with the CIA to do cybersecurity stuff might have stolen all of this and has just been peddling it around for a while now.
hmm,
and that WikiLeaks ultimately got their hands on it.
That sounds
Now, what
great.
I think is interesting to me is the
Mhm.
timing of it, is because from what the CIA has said, this leak has been a known problem for a while now, and I think it's awfully fortuitous that as Donald Trump's scandal with Russia is starting to unveil more and more interesting facts, like his son-in-law visiting the Russian ambassador as well as other people in his staff having contact with Russia during the campaign when they shouldn't have. It's just interesting that suddenly, the CIA, WikiLeaks has leaked all this stuff about the CIA doing all this stuff. And the other reason I say it's interesting is because there was a period of time when Julian Assange actually had his own TV show on Russia Today.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Russians are apparently, according to the intelligence community, hacked the Democratic National Convention's email servers and gave it to WikiLeaks, it's really starting to. I'm not doubting the validity of the stuff that they released. It's just a matter of the convenience and the timing.
Hmm. This is gonna be great.
Because it just seems that conveniently, whenever there's a slump in the Trump, WikiLeaks fucking happens to have something that distracts everybody from Trump.
Yeah, yeah. And that.
And conveniently has absolutely nothing on Trump.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can see where you're going with this.
Especially when we hear daily about the apparently illegal leaks inside of the government that are ruining Trump's day, but none of that stuff's coming out through WikiLeaks, so one can only wonder.
Yeah. I also wonder to a certain degree whether because the people leaking from the White House, especially the ones that had the Twitter accounts, which oh my god, I loved it. Like they, while they were still running, they were great. But those people especially are not liberals. They're conservatives that just really are pissed off at Trump.
Yes.
And so I think to a certain degree they think what they're doing is different than what WikiLeaks and Snowden and Chelsea Manning, of course, we're all doing. So I think they feel like they shouldn't go to them. It I hate to bring up Shakespeare because people aren't going to all get this, but they feel like they don't want to be Coriolanus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my thought process on it. But let's kind of stay in this realm for a second. I want to talk about the old days as we kind of wrap up here. Why don't you tell folks a little bit what brought you to come up with the idea for the Revanchist when you decided to come on and write with us and work on Do It Justice?
Um, that's a complicated question. I didn't want anybody knowing my real name. The end.
Oh man, do you feel differently now though that you're putting out your written work for the public?
I mean, now that I'm putting out my written work to the public, it's almost sort of especially like because people don't get me wrong, like I enjoyed all the stuff, but people will literally hunt you down just because you happen to have views that don't necessarily agree with them, and it's like that's a lot of the reason why I wrote my books under a pen name too, is because I don't want the associated drama from things crossing over. And now that I'm like, oh yeah, this is me and I wrote this, it's kind of like,
Yeah, I still remember the time you hit me with a message saying, "Hey, guess what? Some lady say she's gonna complain and get me fired from you."
yes,
It's
yes,
like what?
exactly. Yes, I used mean language to her, and she was going to inform my employers at 314 Publishing that I was a naughty boy and I was going to get fired. And what did I think of that? And I was like, well, honestly, I doubt any of that'll happen.
Spoiler alert: the boss at 314 agrees with him.
I was just like, here, you know what? Let me save you the trouble. I'll just, shoot him the message in the conversation and see what he has to say.
I hope your response was he just said ha 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 ha
Actually,
ha ha.
I just copied your response of ha 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 ha. Like, yeah, my boss says, ha 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 ha.
Oh man. So yes, folks, if you think I'm joking about the times where I hear people say, "Oh, Matt cares. Matt gets mad when people get mad." Like, no, I don't get mad when you guys send us hate mail. I usually laugh about it, especially when people threaten to get folks fired. That's hilarious to me. I love that one.
But
Oh,
yeah, so that was an interesting period of time, along with the recent revelation that I do not actually exist.
yeah. That's so. All right, I'm gonna
That's a
tell
load
folks this
off my
story.
shoulders.
Let me tell folks this story because like, when I told you, obviously you thought it was hilarious, but I want our audience to understand what's going on here. So I get a message that that there are new comments for stuff, and that comment leads me to somebody's tweet. Good God, which leads me back to another comment, and the comment on the tweet about the comment that was in our comment section waiting for approval uh, was that why do I, the Ruthless Wonder, keep bringing up this Chris Hines guy? We know this is just again, this is on YouTube. We know this is just him pretending to be someone else. Now, you all have listened to us this entire time on this wonderful anniversary reflection episode. Do we sound alike? So Chris doesn't exist. You don't exist, man. You're not real.
I am aware of this. It's been a tremendous burden off of my shoulders to no longer exist. I will
Oh.
have to inform my creditors of this post haste.
And they were serious. This was not a joking situation, people. This was a comment on the blog that had a tweet that was a comment on the YouTube episodes of The Wrath of Ruthless. Now you might notice I said episodes of The Wrath of Ruthless, episodes after he's already appeared on The Wrath of Ruthless. So this person's especially stupid. But yeah. Apparently you don't exist. I made you up.
Yeah, I'm like
So
that guy in the animated GIF that just throws up the peace sign and just fades from existence.
apparently, like
Peace.
apparently this is all the most elaborate hoax known to man. Where I pretend to be somebody both younger than me, different race, different place in the country, and was doing things at the exact same time as me that it would be impossible for me to pull off. But hey, I'm apparently amazing. Apparently, I'm magical. Who knew?
Yes, you are indeed magical.
I am magical. I can do this.
It explains so much, but
Oh man. Oh, I love this stuff. No, we
hey, to be
yeah.
completely honest about the name, at the time that you had asked me to do the writing, I wrote about a lot of international and political stuff, especially about
Hmm.
the wars and everything. But at the same time, I was also playing, I'm a big fan of Europa Universalis and
Oh yeah.
Crusader Kings and history. Well, revanchism is a political ideal that existed in France in like the 18th century around there, which was basically the will to reverse territorial losses that was incurred by a country following a war or a social movement.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, your name has to have something with an R in it because it's the R Revolution. And I was like, I'll
I
just go
know.
with this French concept that nobody will call me out on.
Which in turn made every Star Wars fan think you were talking about somebody else entirely.
Oh yes, it did. It was also an homage to that because Knights of the Old Republic, hands down, favorite game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Fallout 5 for me at Jedi Academy, but that's a whole long thing. Uh no, I always thought that was I always thought that was an interesting thing, but you brought up some games that I definitely wanted to take you back to. So Europa Universalis and Crusader Kings. For the masses that don't know how awesome these games are, can you briefly explain why you're into them?
Because I get to rule the world as the Roman Empire, formed out of Ethiopia. Craziness like that is what I live for. Or the one time that I spawned in Crusader Kings 2 as a Norse Viking in India, and proceeded to create an entire Indian Norse empire that was hilarious.
Oh, that is great. Now, I do love
So I had
one
people that
more than
looked
the
like
other.
they were from Indian, named like Thor Iverson, but it looks Indian, and they worship the Hindu deities. But they have Norse names.
Oh
It was
man,
so hilarious.
but
And then
that's
I
the
did
best
the
part of those
then
games, though.
yeah, I also did the reverse. I spawned in a Buddhist leader in God, what was it? I think it was Iceland. I spawned in as a Buddhist leader in Iceland, and I just conquered all of Europe. And I used to link the Onion post about the Onion video about the Buddhist terrorist organization that was like we were spreading enlightenment or some shit like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was funny to me.
Man, no, I loved it, man. It was it's one of those things where you think about like what you would want to do if you were in this historical situation, and then you just get to do it for real.
Ah, yes, this was it. The Buddhist extremists sell vows to unleash tranquility on the West.
Oh, see, and I'm more of a Crusader Kings 2 guy more than Rebel Universalis, only because I can put
Yes,
the
same.
Game of Thrones mod on, and that just makes the game so much more interesting to me with that. Oh my god, people, they take the map from the actual books of A Song of Ice and Fire, and you get to properly conquer things however you want at any time frame. You can play as your favorite characters from the shows or books, but you can also create your own characters, which is what I love doing. And you might notice that over on my personal channel, the Ruthless Archon, we do that for Cheetah's Guide to the Universe, and it is so much fun. By the way, dude, I have dragons now.
Oh yes, I
I have
also
three
play.
dragons. I have three
Yes, I
dragons. Me and my two oldest sons ride into battle on dragons.
I play that exact same mod as my offshoot Valerian custom made family that was House Bright Flame.
Oh, nice. No,
And
I
I
started
ended
the
up
Summer Islands this
ended up
time.
losing yeah, I ended up losing so many people just cruising around old Valeria trying to get the hints to get the Dragon Age. The Dragon Egg, not the Dragon Age. Dragon Age is also a fun game.
You know, honestly, this was that and Mass Effect are two series that are really popular. I respect them, but I'm just not into those. I've never
Well,
liked them.
then we can't be friends anymore. And
I,
that's the end of it. It
I
was
don't
nice
hate them.
knowing you. Wrap it up. I can't talk to you anymore. Goodbye.
I don't hate them. I'm not anti them existing, but it's like it's not like the
Dragon Age Inquisition was one of the best fantasy games to come out in a long time.
it looks really good. I'm not anti the game existing. For some reason
Either
it
you
didn't
like
connect
it or
with
you're
me.
against it, Ruthless. That's the end of it.
Oh, but it's
You're
like
either
Mass
with us or
Effect.
you're against
Everybody's
us.
like, Matt, play Mass Effect. I'm like, I don't really want to play Mass Effect.
You can live without Mass Effect. Cannot live without Dragon Age in your life.
I think maybe what'll end up happening is I'll end up like they'll make another Dragon Age, and I'll try that one and like it, because
I will stream
Final
myself
Fantasy
playing Dragon
15
Age Inquisition, and you can live vicariously through me.
that works. Because Final Fantasy 15, I actually really liked Final Fantasy 15. It got really linear at the end, but until it got to the end, I was really into it. And by the end, there were so many cutscenes. I was like, okay, yeah, this is now a movie. I'm down. So
Well, when I say it was one of the best fantasy games to come out in a while, keep in mind that Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014, so
yeah,
there
no,
was kind
I'm
of
not
like a
comparing them age
drought.
wise. Yeah,
I know. I was just saying there was kind of a drought of good fantasy games at the time. There wasn't a whole lot of like high fantasy epic adventures, and I really liked Dragon Age Inquisition. I actually liked it better than playing Skyrim, to be honest.
hmm.
And I put in a lot of hours into Skyrim, but
I'll check it on the next Steam
for me,
sale.
yeah, for me, well, actually, I don't think Dragon Age Inquisition's on Steam. I think it's only on Origin.
Really, I'll have to check the
Yeah,
Origin sales then, huh? Or
I think it's actually one of those games you can get for free if you not for free, $4.99 a month for Origin access, and you get all the Dragon Age games if I remember right.
hmm, might hop in a humble bundle, maybe on a GOG sale. Who knows?
But for me, Mass Effect was a fun game I played when I was younger, and it's like, okay, well, I played Mass Effect 1, so time to go play Mass Effect 2. Okay, well, I played Mass Effect 2, time to go play Mass Effect 3. I was like, okay, well, I played Mass Effect 3, time to go buy Mass Effect Andromeda. But yes, actually, Origin access, $4.99 a month, and you get access to all the Mass Effect games and all the Dragon Age games. You also get Star Wars Battlefront, Battlefield 4, FIFA 16, FIFA 15, Battlefield Hardline, Crisis 3, all kinds of games. I
Oh
recommend
man.
it to people because like you get so many games for just $4.99 a month. It's like you pay once and you can play games you've never really, instead of investing in buying the game, you can just pay $4.99 for 1 month and just play a bunch of games.
See.
Included in the games is literally all of the Wing Commander games,
Oh, damn
the
it, my
Ultima
nostalgia.
games. Yeah, you get the Ultima games, Wing Commander games. What other games? They have a lot of old games. Dungeon Keeper is in there. Jade Empire's in there. The Saboteur's in there.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, it sounds like it's worth it, but it's EA. It's EA's Origin. I'm just
Oh, and you get the Medal of Honor War Chest, which has all the Medal of Honor games. The Sims 3. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Crisis, Sim City, Sim City Deluxe Edition. The Dead Space games, Need for Speed, The Banner Saga, This War of Mine.
this War Mine's actually really good. So it's
Yes, it
always worth
is.
it. Well, before we get absolutely out of here, I did want to
Yeah,
give you.
I just want to say for the record, EA does not pay me to advertise this. I'm just saying that, for
If EA wants to
$4.99 a
give us some
month.
money, though, we will advertise for them.
Yeah, all I'm
EA.
saying is for $4.99 a month, you get a $40 game on top of a bunch of other games. That $40 game is FIFA 16, which still costs $39.99, as well as Battlefield 4, which costs $50.
Wait, they're only giving you FIFA 16?
Yeah, it doesn't give
FIFA
you FIFA
17's
17.
been out for 6 months now. They're already
Yeah, but it
talking
won't
about
give you.
FIFA 18. You cheap bastards. All right,
Well, they give you Star Wars Battlefront, but I think it's because FIFA
because it was.
17 is not an entire year old yet. But I
I
mean,
gotcha.
Mirror's Edge Catalyst is on there. Battlefield 4, which costs $50 to buy, is on there.
Fair. I got to figure. So next year it'll be well later this year it'll be Battlefield 1 and
Battlefield Hardline Ultimate Edition, which is $70, is in there. And like I said, it's $4.99 a month. It's a pretty good
it's not
deal.
bad. It's not a bad deal at all. All right. Well, as we get out of here, I do want, of course, let folks know where they can see stuff from you. So pub your stuff one last time.
What sort of stuff?
All your writing, of
Oh, I
course,
guess the
Twitter
easiest
account,
way
all
to
that
do
good stuff.
that is
Website.
the easiest way to get to that is I now have my own website, chrishines.me. And
So,
you can find everything else of mine through there, except my YouTube. My YouTube's not linked into that.
and
I'm not
what's
even
your YouTube?
actually doing anything. I'm not actually doing anything on my YouTube at the minute, but I am planning on changing it from Revanchist Gaming to just M10 because that's the name I've been using on Twitch, which is EMTENN.
There you go. So check him out on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, his website, YouTube, uh, here on the show, here in the future, all that good stuff. And we're gonna, man, it's always good talking to you. Glad to have you on again. And I miss us being able to just have these casual conversations.
You put
Uh,
enough in my heart.
we'll be back with the Game of Thrones reviews. I think June is
Yes,
officially when the series comes back this year,
I
and
need more
then
Game of Thrones.
I want to say Westworld is going to be 2018. They were
And by that
saying,
time, I will probably be overseas.
yeah. So
So that's going to be an interesting scheduling.
no, it's easy. Remember, this is me we're talking about. I'm used to the overseas schedule,
Yes.
and who knows where I'll be by 2018.
You'll just be next door.
uh, who knows? I mean, hey, I could go to LA suddenly and have the screenplays immediately get picked up, and suddenly we're filming on location, and it's like, oh hey Chris, why don't you come downstairs and come hang out where we're filming at? Yes, folks, one of the stories that I'm working on is not a U.S. story. Interesting. But of course we're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. Great
Ooh,
to have you on.
before we leave, there
What's up?
is one TV show on Netflix that I really recommend to people.
Oh yeah, go for
If
it.
you like Game of Thrones, it's sort of fantasy, but at the same time not. It's just alt historical fiction. It's based on a series of books. It's called The Last Kingdom,
Oh nice.
and it's about the Norse invasions of the Saxon kingdoms of England. And it's a really interesting show. I actually enjoyed watching it, and its depiction of the Vikings I found was actually a lot better than, ironically, the TV show about Vikings.
Hmm. Oh, and we also need to. We probably should do a series on Black Mirror, because more people need to see Black Mirror.
Oh my god, I just started watching that last night. It's so weird.
It's so good. All right, folks. So we will catch you guys on the next anniversary reflection. Like I said, we got more coming up. These are going to go all the way to the 14th. So be sure to keep checking us out. For everybody at 314 Publishing, Words Don't Do It Justice, Weekends Don't Do It Justice, and of course on the Wrath of Ruthless. I am the Ruthless Wonder, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.